right here at home. Protect your out. We put the work in. Let's finish. Come on, man. Let's do this. Family up here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
You see, we dream chase, because that's all we was given to start with. Then we realized the dream was obtainable. Now look at us.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Main Thing Podcast Presents. I'm your man, Big Huss, the one you trust, bringing you all your Philadelphia Eagles latest. Now we gotta talk about something that honestly just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel real. Jeff Stoutland University. Look, he's no longer the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line coach. That's 13 years with Philly. 13, right? 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Lombardis. He has 2 Super Bowl rings to his name. And now, man, arguably the best position coach ever in the history of football is gone. He's gone. Stoutland announced it himself on social media, stating, Philadelphia, I've decided my time coaching with the Eagles has come to an end. When I arrived here in 2013, I didn't know what I was signing up for. I quickly learned what the city demands, but more importantly, what it gives back. The past 13 years have been a great privilege of my coaching career. I didn't just work here. I became one of you. Damn. Yeah, I mean, he felt the city. He embodied the city. And the city embraced him back. Look, he didn't just work here. Like he said, he became one of us. And he'll forever be remembered as one of us. But that hits because he really did that. This isn't about nostalgia. This isn't just about giving flowers. This is more about consequences and serious ones moving forward. So we're going to talk about scheme overhaul, potential retirements, Hurts' future, Sean Manning's system, Nick Sirianni's authority, and the identity of the franchise moving forward. But before we get into that, man, you know I got to tell you, please make sure that you are liking, commenting, and most of all, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss from me and Mr. Owens. Hit you in the head with these videos, you know? So let's get into it. Reports surfaced that during the 2025 season, Stoutland was effectively stripped of his run game coordinator title. It was believed that he would return in 2026. Hell, we all thought he would come back in 2026. He's been here so long. He's been such an intricate part of this organization, of this team, and just touching young men that he's brought in, and not in a crazy way, but just helping them mature and really getting the best out of his players and as young men, right? But clearly that's changed. He's not coming back in 2026. ESPN Tim McManus reported that late in the season, Nick Sirianni essentially took over aspects of the run game without consulting Stoutland. And if that's true, that's not small, man. Like, let's be fair here. The run game struggled last year. It did, right? Offense ranked 16th in EPA per play, 22nd in success rate, 13th in EPA per pass, and 16th in EPA per run. Now, these league efficient metrics reported in 2025 seasons reviewed, that's where these stats really came from. But when you look at those are middle of the pack numbers. That's not championship pedigree, right? That's not the level of production that we've come to see from this offense. And there were reasons to this, right? Let's be real here. Offensive line struggles, Saquon Barkley coming off a massive workload in 2024, Kevin Petula's offensive coordinator experiment, massive fail, scheme stagnation. It was just a lot happening on this Philadelphia Eagles offense. And Stoutland shares some of that blame. Yes, he does. But let's not rewrite history here, okay? This is the same coach, y'all. The same coach who developed Lane Johnson into an all-pro future Hall of Famer. Oversaw Jason Kelsey's career. Gonna be a Hall of Famer. Turned Jordan Mailata from a rugby player into an all-pro left tackle. And if he keeps on this pace, Jordan Mailata might be a Hall of Famer, right? Helped Landon Dickerson shape his career into a Pro Bowler. Look, he's been anchoring lines that have powered the past 3 Super Bowls and really we've had top 3 offensive lines for the past 5, 6, 7 years. They have consistently produced under the coaching of Jeff Stoutland, and you don't miss that lightly, right? Which tells you something bigger is happening with Philadelphia. Now, the Eagles wanted experience at the OC position. We went through interviews with Mike McDaniels, Brian Daboll, Todd Monken. They didn't get them. Instead, we landed on Sean Mannion. As we spoke of, former Packers quarterback coach. His offense is expected to resemble a lot of Shanahan and McVay concepts, more wide zone, more motion, more time-based play action, right? That's a philosophical shift here. And here's the truth, straight up. Stoutland's power gap run routes and run game structure did naturally align with the system that Sean Mannion is bringing in. And if Sirianni handled the situation perfectly, things change. Likely pushing Stoutland out isn't happening. But when you have an overhaul of a system, you don't keep every pillar. Things have to change once again. But here's the scary part. This isn't a better offensive line developer in the league than Jeff Stoutland. When it comes to getting the most out of the offensive line, Jeff Stoutland set at the pinnacle, right? And now Howie Roseman, he has to draft linemen without Stoutland University in his back pocket, and that matters. Without that knowledge, right, that Jeff Stoutland has brought over the years, do we bring in the same caliber of talent that we've seen up front, or do we kind of shift and start going after a different style player? That remains to be seen. Now, speaking of old linemen, right? Let's talk about the biggest domino here. Pave the Lane Johnson, right? Once again, 13 years in Philly. That's a long time, boys and girls. Only NFL offensive lineman who ever coached him was Jeff Stoutland. So he knows nothing but Stoutland University, right? And then Jason Kelsey had this to say about Stout. There's absolutely no one I credit more with my career than I had than Jeff Stoutland. It's more than just coaching. It's his presence, his sense of urgency, and that was unaccepting of mediocrity. So what you're saying here is he's the ultimate motivator. Like I said, he gets the best out of his players and really reaching them as men, because although we love this game of football, these are men first. You know what I'm saying? And you want to have the right character there. And he's making sure that he's molding these young men into better men, right? Now, Lane is already at that stage in his career where he's constantly contemplating retirement. I feel that we go through this every year with Lane. Is this the year? Is it not? Look, he missed half of the 2025 season with the Liz Frank injury, and now he's watched Kelsey retire, Fletcher Cox retire, Brandon Graham retire, come back, maybe retire again, and now Stoutland is walking out. If Lane retires, you talk about pillars falling, pillars missing, that's a big pillar amongst your offensive line. Arguably the anchor of your offensive line, right? That's not something that, especially in this Super Bowl era, that we would love to see at this point in time. And now, every season, teams do an overhaul, things change. But you want the cornerstones of your team to remain the same, right? And you build from there, and Pave's a cornerstone. So that's a culture shift territory if he doesn't return in 2026. And it's bad. It's bad. Who do we even replace him with right now? Howie is going to have to do some crazy ski mask Howie things if Lane Johnson decides not to return in 2026. Now, Jeff McClain also reported that Landon Dickerson might be an even bigger question mark as far as returning for the 2026 season. Then Mike Garafalo, he echoed similar concerns. Dickerson, knee procedure before camp this year, had an ankle injury, a calf injury, a back injury, left games multiple times, right? Didn't sound optimistic at locker room cleanout. And we all know, we as Philly fans, we watch the games. We seen Landon Dickerson out there giving it his all. But you could tell, man, this is a wounded soldier out here. He's operating at maybe 70%, 60%, but he's still thugging it out. Now, he signed a 4-year extension in 2024, which means he still has a couple years left on his contract, but money doesn't heal chronic injuries, right? And if you lose Stoutland, you lose Lane Johnson, you lose Landon Dickerson, That's not a tweak. That's not just switching a few pieces around. That's reconstruction. And during our Super Bowl era that we're in right now in Philadelphia, that's not something that you want to see. Once again, that offensive line, Jeff Stoutland, those are the cornerstones of this team for real. This team was built around that unit, whether it be really just trenches in general, offensive line or defensive line, but in this case, the offensive line, right? So now let's talk bigger picture. Change can sometimes be messy. So let's zoom out a little bit. Exactly 1 year ago, the Eagles were coming off a 40-22 Super Bowl win over KC in Super Bowl 59. Y'all know the vibes, okay? People were whispering dynasty. That's what we were seeing. But now there's a lot happening. A.J. Brown reportedly unhappy and wanting out. Multiple reports coming up through the 2025 season and really even in the 2024 season at some points. Once again, the OC experiment failed, and it failed catastrophically. Stoutland, gone. Talk about a gut punch. It's crazy, right? Lane, maybe retiring. Let's cross our fingers that he doesn't. And then Sirianni, per usual, on the hot seat. Right? That's nothing new in Philadelphia. Now, it's crazy to see how fast the NFL could flip, right? 1 year you're riding high. Next year, things aren't looking as great. You know what I mean? That engine's not purring the way it once was. Now, here's the truth. Change was necessary. There's no doubt about it. Kevin Patullo's offense was stale, predictable. Band-Aids don't fix a broken system, right? But when you demand massive change, you don't need to choose only the comfortable parts, right? New system typically equals new ripple effects. Stoutland may have been one of them no matter what, maybe a casualty regardless of what happened during the 2025 season, but man, that casualty is big, ladies and gentlemen. And then the most important question, can Jalen Hurts adapt? If he's reducing his rushing usage, which we saw in 2025, and as Philly fans, you know what I mean, just viewers watching, we wanted to see more of it, but we didn't get it for whatever the reason. Then one must evolve as a pocket passer, right? And just a pocket processor. We've seen him improve before, no doubt about it. This is Hurts now. From 2021 to 2022, the jump was massive. 2022 to 2023, 2023 to 20, constantly improving. But now QB1, he has to master a timing-based offense, working under center more, which once again, as Eagles fans, we were clamoring for, right, a lot during the 2025 season, and then process the middle of the field reads consistently, trusting his eyes, delivering, and trusting his receivers to make a play, right? If he struggles in the Mannion system, the 2026 becomes franchise-altering somewhat, truth be told. Not dramatic. It's not a dramatic reality, but it is reality, right? Change is uncomfortable. It's exciting, but it's also risky. It could be disruptive. Sometimes you upgrade the house, you know what I mean, and realize, hey, we need a bigger yard, which means more work. The bigger system means more costs. The new space means less familiarity. So with change, it can come with reward or it can come with calamity. It all depends on how one approaches it, how Howie Roseman, Jeff Lurie, Hurts, Sirianni, how they all approach this change and making sure that they're bringing in the right pieces that fit exactly what they're trying to do. And then once you have your car built the way you want, it's looking all pretty, making sure you have the proper driver that you're handing the keys to, man. We had the most expensive car in the league last year. They handed the keys to the wrong guy. So let's make sure that we have our guy as far as the OC goes, and then start trickling in the scheme and bringing in the right players that fit the scheme. But that Stoutland departure, once again, lady, that hurts. There's no sugarcoating that. That hurts. It could be devastating if the offensive haul doesn't work. If Mannion's modernized scheme doesn't work. If Hurts doesn't evolve. If your young linemen don't step up. There's a lot of ifs here. There's a lot of questions going into 2026. What will we get? What is our final product? But look, this pain, it almost feels somewhat necessary. But if it fails, we'll all look back at this moment and be like, you know what? The turning point is when we let Stoutland go. That's just point blank period. If it's not looking how we expect it to look, then we'll all look back at this time period and be like, letting Stoutland go is looking like a bad move. But it's a lot of ifs. It could be for the best or it could be for the worst. It still remains to be seen. So here's the question, Philly. Is this the beginning of a smarter evolution or the beginning of the end of a championship core? I mean, those are the real questions that we're faced with now. Because like I said, with change, it could be high reward or it could be calamity. And this team has shown that they can get through through adversity and through those rough times. But you have to also put yourself in the best position to do so. So once again, drop your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, share with your people, because as always, right? The main thing is the main thing. And right now, the main thing in Philadelphia is change. Hopefully it's changed for the better. Now, there's more videos to come. I hope everyone had a great week, moving into an even better weekend. You know, me and Mr. Owens, we got y'all. We love y'all. Appreciate the support. If you don't know, I go by Big Huss. This is the Main Thing podcast, where we keep the main thing the main thing. Stay blessed. Stay safe. This flag is fly till we die. Till next time.
It was I was gonna make a lot of money doing what I wanted to do. I went after it, and it was a struggle to achieve it. But you know what? I caught that bitch. Dream chasing.